1 week up, 1 week down, one win up for the West Branch football program. And let's get right into it on the Talking Bear Football Podcast,
right here on westbranch.football.
presented by Browns West Branch. Now that we've got all the pleasantries out of the way, let's talk about the fantastical, mythical football joyride that was Lisbon. On Friday night, the Bears come out victorious 12-6 in an offensive juggernaut of a game. I know last week on the podcast, guys, we talked about, hey, are we going to score over this many points over under this many on offense and defense? And, well, if you had the unders for both, this was a good week for you. 12-6 the final. Good news, West Branch came out with the W, Matt. What are your first thoughts of that?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, my under pick of the points allowed is doing real good, way under the 16 points per game that we need. But yeah, anyway, for the real stuff. My immediate thoughts, the defense was phenomenal, just in the backfield all night. Lisbon, really just couldn't do much. 99 total yards from the Lions, and 59 of that came on one play. So take that out. I know you can't really take that out, but take that out, 40 yards. But yeah, overall, I'll have some more stuff to say, but yeah, I think overall it was just really a nice total team effort. Good punting execution, stellar defense. We saw some flashes of offense that has a lot of potential. I don't think I could ask too much more from the first game of the season that happened to be against a really good opponent.
And Steven, Matt just said 99 yards. That's basically a George Washington quarter. Every quarter. 25 yards per quarter on defense. Every game, if you do that, you're probably going to be okay for the rest of the season, eh?
Yeah, that would be a good way to keep things going all season long. And, especially against a team like Lisbon that has a variety of different weapons. And we didn't really let that phase us. Just said, you know what, we're going to come out and we're going to stay in our lanes. We're going to do our jobs and play good team defense. And that's what it shaked out to be. So for me, it was gutty. It was a situation where, the first three possessions, we fumble the football inside the 35-yard line, give Lisbon great field position. We dig deep. We come out. We hold them to no points. You look in that second half, everybody starts cramping up. It's something that happens year in and year out in the first couple weeks of the season. No matter how much you try to hydrate, you get that adrenaline going. But you know what? We found ways that either guys were cramping, they got back out on the field, and they dug deep to find a way to do it. Or you had some other guys that stepped up. They stepped in to that spot and said, hey, I'm going to come in and take advantage of my opportunity and do what this team needs me to do. And, it was just a tough, gritty performance all around, I thought.
It's going to be a long recap of the scoring. And we want to keep this program under about 3 hours this week. So, Matt, go ahead and tell us how the scoring happened and when it happened.
The scoring kicked off barely under the wire in the first half. Bears got on the board first with an Andy Henson 3-yard touchdown run. It came on a 4th and goal from the 3 with 2 seconds left in the first half. And that play was actually set up by a really nice 14-yard gain pass from Carver Belk to Kinnick Belk. Kinnick did a really good job at making his way upfield, but also doing a good job of getting out of bounds and getting towards that sideline. He ended up getting out of the 3. Bears came out initially to kick a field goal. Lisbon called timeout. Bears changed their mind. They got out there in the Wildcat with Andy. He ran it right in. PAT was, what was it, blocked?
I think it was a low snap.
Low snap, that's right. Yep, low snap. So 6-0 as we head into halftime. Then in the third quarter, Cash Woody picks off Lisbon pass and goes 34 yards into the end zone for a pick 6. 2-point conversion from the Bears was no good, so 12-0 at that point, West Branch. And then in the fourth quarter, Lisbon trying to make it interesting, as I mentioned just a minute or two ago, 59-yard pass and catch for a touchdown that Kinnick Belk almost intercepted and almost made the tackle on at the same time. But that player got loose down the sideline, and we really just couldn't catch him. So into the end zone they went, and their 2-point conversion was no good. So that's where we ended, 12-6, West Branch victory.
And if you think about it this way, think about it like this. If West Branch scored in the first half, man, as you said, with 2 seconds remaining, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They scored in the third quarter with how much time remaining?
Oh, that was right at the end of that third quarter too, wasn't it?
4 seconds.
4 seconds.
4 seconds. Yeah. So they left themselves a lot of time to spare in whatever stanza they were a part of.
Yeah.
But one of the most interesting stats I recall from the game, I bet Steve and Grace talked about it live. I did not listen yet. I apologize for that. But I bet you wrote it down, Stephen. When did West Branch have their first offensive play on the good side of midfield?
It would have been that last drive before we scored the touchdown.
Exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds remaining before West Branch, in the second quarter, before West Branch was even on the good side of the 50. So I bring that up because of the short field scenario that Lisbon had for the entire first half, yet did not cash in on it. And West Branch's defense, boy, was it as advertised from Coach Bailey and Coach Peterson in the preseason talked about how the defense could be the bell cow that leads this team as we get going into the season.
Well, and to go off of that, Jason, like there was another interesting part of that. If you dive deeper into that, those three straight drives that Lisbon had, they started. I think it was because of our first 3 drives to where we fumbled it. They started about the West Branch 30, so the 26, the 26, and the 32. But yeah, the West Branch defense just pinned their ears back and held them off. Those drives ended in turnover on downs. Lions were inside the 5, turnover on downs again, and then a punt. The Bears pushed them back towards midfield from starting at the 32. In total, 17 plays, and the Lions accumulated a total of 7 yards from those 3 drives alone that started about the West Branch 30. So incredible job by the defense to pick the offense up after losing the ball on 3 straight drives. Just that was one thing that really stood out to me, and how well they did there.
And not to take away anything, Stephen, from Lisbon, because their defense was pretty solid as well, holding West Branch to just 128 yards for entire 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those that, obviously first game jitters, neither team really could get that rhythm going. So a lot of credit to both defenses, but also, look at some false start penalties, some delay of games, just some other, you didn't really see a lot of holding or anything else like that. It was, just a lot of little mental mistakes. And so I think both teams would see, hey, we have nice positive play. We've got 2nd down and 7. Oh, false start. Now we're behind the sticks. Oh, now we get tackled for loss. Now instead of 3rd and 5 or 6, you're looking at 3rd and 15. And that just completely changes your philosophy on how you want to approach those things. And so, yeah, some of those mental mistakes really kind of shot both teams in the foot and, made the defenses come to play and play a little bit better. They took advantage of some of those opportunities.
Well, and from the West Branch offense perspective, they did some good things. But as really typically comes with that first game of the season, there are a lot of opportunities too to do better. And the really cool thing is that all of those kind of things that they need to work on and those opportunities that they have ahead of them, they're all easily correctable. Securing the ball, route running, positioning or lining up your receivers, which, to give or to take on the option reads, that type of stuff. All of that's just going to kind of come with more experience, both in practice, but also in this game experience too. But I thought the offensive line did a really great job of creating good lanes for Andy Henson, Carver Belk to run through as well, but also giving Carver some time on a lot of passes, on a lot of his dropbacks, a lot of time to make his reads and go through his progressions to find a receiver.
You can, when we get to the pick to click in a little bit, we could have a debate on a lot of things, but I'm sure we'll all come to an agreement as to who really, really won that one. But that's for a later time. But 12-6, doesn't matter the score. You'll take 3-2, 5-3,
19-18.
19-18, or whatever it is. I think you would take this W. Ugly wins are still wins.
One of the things that I had written down, and I mean, we talk about it with Coach Peterson all the time, tip of the cap to Coach Braddock and the special teams. I mean, you look at several different instances in that game Friday night. One, our touchdown drive in the first half. That was set up. We were pinned deep. We punted it, and Lisbon muffed it. We were Johnny on the spot with Cash Woody down the field. He recovers that. We put together a touchdown drive. Opening kickoff of the second half. It was a sidewinding, spiraling, just weird football, and Aiden Shields heads up, able to fall on it instead of giving Lisbon the ball near midfield and a chance to maybe come down and tie it up right away. We get our offense out there like we were hoping to try to add on to it. I mean, Andy Henson, 2 or 3 punts that were down inside the 10-yard line or so. I'm thinking later on in the game, Lisbon had a punt. They kicked it away from Kinnick, and he hustled to the other side of the field and caught it because it was one of those that you could tell it was going to hit and it was going to roll for a ways. And he easily saved at least 5 or 10 yards of field position, if not more. And, I mean, it was just a variety of those little things that maybe get overlooked. You're not going to see the headlines in the paper about, a punt that's muffed that's recovered or a punt that's fielded in the air and run straight out of bounds. You're going to hear about 100 yards for a running back or interceptions or whatever. But those things were very vital, very important for why we were able to come away with that victory Friday night.
I agree. And again, I agree with you what you just said, that always in the paper, somebody in the Gazette named Jason Miller wrote an article, talked about the Andy Henson touchdown and the Cash Woody touchdown because those scored the points and they're only given so much space that they can write. But if you would have really dove in a little bit deeper into the details, you would talk about newcomers, new faces and new places, same faces in new places. Like, for instance, a new quarterback. You would talk about a new center. That's brand new to the West Branch football program, Reese Panye, making two really big plays on kickoff coverage. Also had a tackle for loss on defense when his number was called at linebacker. You talk about Logan Wright. Within the first 2 plays of the game, he had a tackle for a loss, just like he did against Tipton in the scrimmage. So new faces or old faces, new places, making a difference, and it was a team victory.
EMS Detergent Services has been providing janitorial supplies to businesses across the Midwest for over 50 years. Based in North Liberty, EMS uses products made right here in Iowa and offers exceptional and affordable services for their clients. Learn more at emsdetergentservices.com. Julie and Dan Hayes at EMS Detergent Services, proud supporters of the West Branch Bears.
There is one thing we need to discuss. One thing that as we get further in the season that's going to play a big role. I think that's the district standings, don't you, Stephen?
Absolutely. And it's always great to see how the teams shake out because everybody's got predictions to start the year. It says, hey, this team's going to win, this team's going to get last. And then you see how all these new faces come together at each program, and it's a new year, so those predictions can just be thrown out the window. So it's always fun to see some of these games. And Matt, there were some good ones from our district opponents this week.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of good mixed results. Obviously, there's no movement in the district standings here just because these are non-district games, but still good to kind of keep an eye on these to see where things are going. But yeah, let's first start off with Durant. They dropped their opener to another really good school, Sigourney Keota. If I can find that game on Huddle, I kind of want to watch that just because, Durant, both Sigourney and Durant, really good programs, obviously have been the last number of years. So, Durant starts out at 0-1. Liza Muscatine also lost their opener 9-6 to Columbus, not to be confused with Columbus Catholic, just regular Columbus, who West Branch played a couple of years ago in the playoffs, was it?
2015, I believe. 55-20 in the first round. Yeah.
Holy moly. So they start out at 0-1 as well. And then Mediapolis, they defeated Wapello 44-22. to start out 1-0. Iowa City Regina, they started out 1-0 and beat a pretty good Williamsburg squad 16-14. So big win there for Regina. And then Wilton also won their opener against Tipton 21-6.
So you're saying West Branch is a co-district champion right now if we were to stop the season?
With no district games played, yeah. I mean,
Well,
they
I guess it would
lost
be a
in the
tie.
district, yeah.
Everybody's a district champion so far.
Right.
Okay. Week 2. Another week, another ranked opponent for West Branch. And the first week you had 4th ranked or 7th ranked, whichever publication you looked at, in Lisbon. Next week, Waterloo Columbus comes to West Branch for the inaugural meeting between the two squads. Columbus is fresh off a quarterfinal finish in 2020, returns a very strong and very well-positioned squad to make a lot of noise in 2021, led by quarterback Carter Gallagher, who rushed for 800 yards and threw for 1,400 yards a year ago. They will be coming hungry, Stephen, to West Branch, losing to perennial powerhouse, but unranked, Dyke New Hartford 35-21 last Friday night. After leading that game 14-0, Dyke New Hartford took control. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that Matt talked about correcting. West Branch could correct mistakes. I'm sure Columbus is in the same boat, and they'll be ready to do that on Friday.
Yeah, and this is a team that, I mean, I was reading some things from up at the Waterloo paper. I mean, in the offseason, they were 3 points away from making the semifinals in the Unidome, coming up short against Sigourney Keota. And they're a team that's focused. They want to get to that Unidome, and started out really well for them. And then Dyke New Hartford found some things that were clicking and, you know, took advantage of some opportunities that presented themselves. So I'm sure that Coach Schmidt and company are going to be looking at some film, and they're going to say, okay, here's where we need to, I mean, like Matt said, here's how we can position ourselves just a little bit better. Here's how we can execute this just a little bit better than what we did and try to come through. And this is a solid football team. Don't let it say, oh, well, you know, they gave up 28 points in the second half to Dyke New Hartford to lose 35-21. It's a good program at Dyke New Hartford. They know how to play football, and Waterloo Columbus is going to be hungry coming off of that.
And Matt, I think the key to remember here is, again, this team was ranked coming into last week, and will probably still be ranked this week. People think and people know things. This is a good football team, period. And they're going to want to prove that and not go 0-2 next week.
Yeah, regardless of ranking, they're just a good football team. And what I was watching, that game against Dyke New Hartford, which for the game itself, it was a really entertaining game to watch, but I was trying to focus more on the Sailors. But yeah, we've got, you know, I had 3 things that really stand out to me. First 2, obviously, quarterback Carter Gallagher, 6 foot. He's really good. He has really good running ability, good escapability from the pocket. Really good at running those options. Really good ability to make defenders miss. And then same thing with running back Josh Hine, number 3, shifty, agile, kind of a speed back kind of guy. He's 5'8", so you know, good short height to kind of maneuver around at will. I was really impressed with his running ability, and just how he was able to just kind of dart all over the place from side to side, you know, vertically, horizontally, all that type of stuff, just to make defenders miss, and especially getting through kind of the dirt and dust there, so to speak, at the line of scrimmage. He's able to find a hole, dart through it, and get his way up into the second level, and make guys miss up there too. So I think he's going to be a really important guy to stop. But much like West Branch, they've got some good size on their offense and defensive lines. You know, 3 or 4 guys that are well into their 220s, 230s up there, and they're not big slow guys either. They've got, you know, kind of that athletic ability, kind of remind me of kind of that wrestler type of build that we see a lot down in our Class 1A type of thing. So yeah, it's gonna be a really good fight at the Little Rose Bowl Friday.
So Matt mentioned, we all have mentioned Carter Gallagher. He's number 1 in the program. Josh Hine was just mentioned as a running back, number 3 in the program. But if you want to talk about another playmaker for them, look at the first hit, number 2, So if for them to be successful, them being the Sailors on offense, honestly, look no further. It's as easy as 1, 2, and 3. Carter Gallagher is 1. Caden Hart's 3 receptions for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns last week, both over 50 yards. Big play receiver, was the number 1 receiver last year for the Sailors. And then number 3, the running back, Josh Hine. So look for those 3 players. If they're going to win, they're going to make their imprint on this game. They're going to be successful through 1, 2, 3. But defensively, I think up front, size-wise, they're going to match up with West Branch guys. I mean, they've got guys like Connor Knutson. I looked on, he gets a lot of time on at offense and on the defensive side of the football, 6'2", 220. Jake Bradley, 6 foot 235. Jack Duggan, a little bit more diminutive, but he's 5'7", 175, and he gets every pound out of that, as does defensive tackle number 65, Mason Knipp. I got to mention him because my first cousin is his great uncle. Mason's dad, Dan, is one of the coaches on the team. So I've got a little connection to the Sailors, but in the end, obviously, I'm going to hope the Bears come out with the victory. But one guy who won't be playing, guys, and we sure want to wish him well in his recovery, is All-State linebacker, senior in Indiana State football commit at linebacker, number 25, Dallas Westhoff, who broke his leg in the opening scrimmage of the season and sounds like he's going to be out for the year. We wish him a speedy recovery. Wonderful football player when you watch him on film from last year and the year before, and I'm sure he'll be missed by the team. And hopefully he'll get healthy, and I'm sure he'll have a wonderful college career.
Yeah, I mean, but to West Branch's advantage Friday, it's going to be nice to not have him on the field. Be selfish about that. And
we mean that with the utmost respect.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it. But because he's a playmaker, he's a difference maker on defense. He just always has his nose around the football when you watch him on film. So that being aside, it's going to be a great football game, and it's going to be the first regular season football game since the last one, which was the last one before a year. So this is only the second home football game West Branch has had in like a year and a half for a regular season. It's going to be nice to be at the Little Rose Bowl. It always is. And I'm sure that place will be rocking and rolling. And we're looking forward to being there to watch, hopefully, a great football game. Win-loss, it's going to be a great football game for both teams. And it's on prime real estate, Matt. Prime real estate.
You know where I'm going with this. He's bringing his A game tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
You know where I'm going with this.
He's on
the prime real estate at the Little Rose Bowl, Butch Peterson Field at the Little Rose Bowl at historic Oliphant Street Field, or I don't know, all those things. It is one of the places you're supposed to see a football game at before you die, according to CBS Sports. Makes it prime real estate. Speaking of prime real estate, let's hear from our friends at Cornerstone Real Estate Consultants.
Choose a realtor who knows the territory. Ken and Helen Fawcett of Cornerstone Real Estate Consultants are licensed agents with customer satisfaction as their number one priority. If you're buying or selling a home or property in West Branch or the surrounding area, they can help. Your hometown real estate company with an office in downtown West Branch. Cornerstone Real Estate Consultants. Call them at 643-3344 or log on to cshomesiowa.com.
It's picks to click time, or pick to clicks, whichever you want to look at it.
Yeah, how do we say the plural of that?
I don't know.
Picks to click.
Picks to click.
Yeah. We're making multiple picks that are going to click.
Well, we hope.
We hope, and they all clicked this week because West Branch won, of course. Matt, who did we choose last week?
Yeah, last week, Stephen Grace, you had Drake Berry. Yeah, always a good pick every week. And he made some really disruptive plays, a really memorable sack there.
Led the team in tackles.
Yeah. Jason, you had Logan Wright. Again, he made his presence known early in that game. Good to see him get off on the right foot there for just being a sophomore.
3 tackles, right? 2 tackles for loss. No big deal.
Yeah.
Good for him.
And then I had Colt Bailey. All 3 of those guys, big key players there on the defense, first and second levels. So, I think they all did did really well. So yeah, hard to pick a winner.
I'll tell you what, we'll let Steven pick the winner on that one. Who do you think won, Steven?
Drake Berry, of course.
I think the Bears won.
I think the Bears won, so we all win.
We all win. I guess that puts us into week 2. And
Jason, you're first up.
Wow, I get a pick this week. Man, I'm going to pick the West Branch Band. This is their week to shine. They haven't played all year. Is that available? Is that a one-timer?
Well, there are no timers, unfortunately.
No timers?
I mean, they are a good pick, but yeah, we need a player.
Well, you said my last name once, so I'll take someone with the same last name. Peyton Miller is my pick to click in week 2. He's going to be busy with all the athletes that the Sailors have.
I'm going to kind of go, I wouldn't necessarily say in conflict of yours, but somewhat opposite of yours. And I'm going to use up one of my one-timers. I'm going with Andy Henson. I think he had a good start against Lisbon, and despite some cramping and other things he's got going on, he still put up a hell of a fight, hell of a game. So I look to him to continue that here into week 2. Stephen Grace?
Oh, I've been thinking about this a lot today, just trying to come up with it. And I just can't, trying to get a good sense of how this game's going to go to kind of determine how to make this pick. And I'm just not getting a good sense one way or the other. So I'm going to go similar to kind of what you did last week, Matt. I'm going to go Brady Hunger in terms of that, kind of in between run support, but also pass support. He's a guy that he had an interception, but it was on a play that was whistled dead because of a penalty. Offensively, sitting at that tight end spot, could be some areas that he could sneak into some things. So I got a good feeling about one of our big time seniors and going to go with him.
I'm not just saying this because you chose him and now it makes it easy. I honestly was going to say, if you got done and you didn't select Brady Hunger, I was going to say, hey, can I change mine to Brady Hunger? Because I think that he along with his linebacker mates, as far as on the defensive side, Colt Bailey, Andy Henson, of course, and others they're going to be really busy. They're going to be stretched out, but I think they're up to task. They've been working on it for weeks, and they get to play at home, guys. That's a big deal to play their first game of their last season as a West Branch Bear at home. To wrap things up, this week, last week I threw Stephen Grace a curveball, and we did not allow him to tell you how to follow the West Branch Bears on the internet, interweb, all those technical places, because he's been practicing for this since November. And, well, actually, probably since he and Matt did their bit in February. So he's got 6 months of practice. I think he's going to hit the nail on the head here and let you know exactly how to keep up with all things West Branch football.
Go to Twitter at WB Bears Football. Instagram, everybody's starting to love that a little bit more, at WB Bears Football. Facebook, just go into that search menu and type West Branch Football. And while you're there, don't just click on it and search it. If you're smart, you can actually click the follow button or the like button, and then you might get notifications and you'll see when different things get popped up there. So that would be a great way to do it. If you're visual and like to watch some of those, but you don't necessarily want to look at some of the other social media content, you can always go to YouTube. We've got a West Branch Football channel there, so you can search, subscribe to that. You'll get notifications as soon as everything comes in. Of course, for us here on the podcast, if you enjoy listening to us kind of muddle through everything every week, just go to whatever your favorite podcast player is, whether it's Apple, Spotify. I'm sure there's like 15 others that you can find. Search for Talkin' Bear Football, like it, subscribe it, follow along, and get all the great information. And of course, all of the highlights, all of the interviews, all of the other videos, the game recaps, the game capsules, looking back at previous matchups and everything, you can find at our website, which is westbranch.football.
The Talking Bear Football podcast is presented by Brown's West Branch. Also brought to you by Main Street Suites, EMS Detergent Services, Hodge Construction, Cornerstone Real Estate Consultants, Fidelity Bank and Trust, Full Wider Insurance Agency, Touch by Power Massage Therapy, the West Branch Times, the Hoover Presidential Foundation, and Marcy Willier with Urban Acres Real Estate.
And before we go, Stephen, for Matt and myself, who've been with the podcast since episode 1, this would be officially our 100th episode together, talking Bear football, including the one season where we had an A and a B episode. This is our 100th episode together.
It's numbered 99, but it's technically our 100th.
Yes.
I had to condense those 12A and 12B into one episode like a year or so ago, just for technical reasons. But yeah, this is technically the 100th. That's pretty wild.
And I've been along for what, like 20 of them?
At least.
Congratulations.
Probably more than that, but
you should be. We'll give you get dual credit though. So we'll make it 77 for you.
There you go.
This is your 77th
It's a good number.
episode. The Drake Berry episode for you. So, but it's been a fun ride, and let's hope it's even more fun next week when we come back together. That the Bears have a home victory in hand. It's not going to be easy, guys. It never is. But for Stephen Grace, Matt Chenander, and I'm Jason Miller, we thank you, the listener, for joining us on the Talking Bear Football podcast.
Right here on westbranch.football.
Take care, everyone.